Okay, it's Raven Guide time. I don't know if I have this one perfect. She's obviously been out for less than 24 hours. I just finished building her, or crafting her, whatever you call it. I got her from an A's, and then she's like full arcade mastery and all that stuff. So let me go over what I have, so that way people can just dip if they want to leave afterwards. And then I'll talk about this character and what I'm using. This is actually not doing anything for me right now because I just changed that. We've got this. So this guide is likely going to change, but I think that this is a solid start. And I'll start by saying that this character is ridiculously broken. This is like probably one of the most broken characters I've ever seen. She is insane. Okay, let's go over how to play it first, because she is new. So normally I kind of expect people have an understanding of the character, but people may not yet. So let me go ahead and talk about her real quick. And then, so her main thing is that she has a shotgun. That is her first skill. When you shoot stuff, based on how close you are to them and the number of targets that you hit, it gives you custom resource. Actually, it's the number of enemies hit, sorry. And then the damage is based on how close you are to them. And then also when you kill enemies, you get custom resource. And you use your custom resource on this skill and this skill. So I haven't talked about her passive yet, but the acquiring resource is part of her passive. So whenever an enemy dies, you'll get back some resource. So let's do this. There you go. There's no cooldown on that, unlike Glay, as far as I'm aware. And then her first skill, when you use it, this like shotgun, or her third skill. So her third skill is this dash, but the shotgun does as well. The enemies will get this purple aura on them, which is trace. If you hit it with a firearm, which you probably won't be doing, everything with trace will take damage. You can do that if you want to. It has a pretty long cooldown on how often you can actually do that. It's not like the other skill gun characters. So there you go. It's got a huge, all of her abilities have huge range. So see the cooldown on this? There you go. So it's not a tremendous range. And you might be thinking, well, her first skill is a shotgun, right? So surely her first skill procs it? No, it doesn't. So you don't need to worry about that. You can pretty much just ignore the trace effect as far as I'm aware. So you can see the ones over there did not get hit by that. That one on the corner that has trace on it is not receiving damage, but if I shoot it, it does. So her first skill is not proccing the trace effect. You do actually need to hit them with a firearm. It does okay damage, but there's a 3-second cooldown and you actually have to shoot them. So I feel like it's like a last resort if you've run out of other stuff, but we should be building cooldown, so you're going to have other stuff to use. But if you hit enemies with a skill when they're inflicted with that trace, you get this stacking critical damage buff, and that goes up to 75%, so 15 stacks, 5% damage each. You can see it's pretty easy to get. It's going to be on the left here. So see how it's just ticking up constantly? You'll pretty much always be at 15 stacks. So the next part of her kit there is something called Nightfall. So Midnight is the one that's giving you crit. You just have to hit enemies with trace. So trace is from your shotgun and your third ability, but with any skill, and you'll get that crit damage increase. But to get the critical strike increase, you need to have, and the translation here doesn't appear to be that great. It says it's based on the number of ravens. Oh, sorry, it is summoned. Oh, okay, never mind. It does say summoned Raven's Claws. I thought it just said summoned Ravens before when I read it. But it's summoned Raven's Claws. This ability is a bit weird. Basically, you throw a crow out in front of you, and it will collide with something, and it will create an area of effect of damage. And it will just do pulsing damage around it. You can think of it like a Valby puddle, something like that. The difference is that it doesn't have to hit an enemy. It suggests that if you miss with the skill, you'll get the cooldown back, but I'm not actually sure you can miss with the skill, which is weird. So it talks about that, but I don't think that you can. Like maybe if you throw it up there. Nope, it's still procced. So these are actually your Raven's Claws, these things right here. These like ink blobs, whatever they are. And each one of them that you have out will increase your critical hit rate by, I think it's like 6% up to 5 stacks. So you'll see that this one will go away in just a little bit here. She has very bad critical hit rate without those out, but she gets a ton of critical hit rate as long as you have them. Sorry, I have a lot of skill duration. Or it's not updating dynamically. Is it still out there? Oh, okay. Oops. Hold on. There you go, 27%. So we had that one out there. I must have just looked at it after it had already disappeared. But you can see just having one of them increases it. So you can get up to 5 of these. Now you can summon a whole ton of these. I'm not sure there's any limit on the number of these Raven's Claws. I feel like there has to be, but there's a lot of them that you can get. It doesn't seem to say. It just shows the amount that you can get. But you can get a tremendous amount of these things. You can blanket an entire map, like better than Freyna can with these things. There's so many of them, and they do so much damage. It's 1,000 damage on a half-second interval. It does actually appear to be hitting on a half-second interval. And they also apply continuous damage, so if you wanted to go with something like Infected Weapon here, you could, but I think that the multiplier is high enough, and you're going to have enough of these that just going with Power Beyond is... That's an interesting looking tooltip. I didn't notice that before. I think that you're going to get better value out of Power Beyond. She does have another skill of her own that they gave her, but I don't think it's as good as Power Beyond. It's this perfect positioning one. Basically, once you've used 3 things, it reduces your ammo cost and gives you skill power, but the skill power isn't as high as Power Beyond, so I think that this is for her other 2 builds, and I haven't tried the other 2 builds yet. I'm just going over Nightfall right now, and that's it. The Transcendent weapons have not impressed me enough yet to want to go into her shotgun build yet, but I do have one of them fully built here. More than one of them, I think. So these are your primary source of damage, these Raven's Claws, whatever you call them. So you're going to throw out a bunch of these. They're going to blanket the entire map. They've got a kind of a long cooldowns. And then they just shoot everything in front of you. Or, well, in their circle. Her 3rd skill is a buff, so it doesn't do any immediate damage as far as I'm aware. I'll just confirm. No, it doesn't. So it knocks them down and just puts that trace on them, which is useless, as we've talked about. So you can ignore the trace part completely. But you do want to be using this. So what this does is it will give you skill duration up. Reload time modifier, totally irrelevant. We're not doing anything with that. But skill duration up is the important part. So while you have this on, all of your crows, which are duration-based, are going to... ravens. I don't know why I said crows. Ravens are going to have a longer duration, and it's pretty cheap. It's about 22... It's 22 Umbra, so it's 20% of your bar. You have 100 Umbra in total. The other thing that makes this character so incredibly broken is that it just negates 7 instances of damage. So... And this thing is like a very low cooldown. It doesn't cost a lot, and you want to be using it, so you're just constantly sitting there not taking any damage from anything, which is why I have so little HP, and you can just get away with running like 0 HP on her. So you do want to be using that, and periodically, and then that increases the duration of your crows. You get more crows, those increase your critical hit rate, and then when you need your custom resource, you use your 1. And then whenever you have enough custom resource, you pretty much want to be using her 4th skill on cooldown. And what this does is it extends the duration of all of your crows that you have up by 6 seconds, and it makes them turn into enhanced... I keep calling them crows because they're claw. It says Raven Claw, but they're ravens. My bad. I'll get there eventually. But this will increase the duration of all of your ravens and turn them into enhanced ravens. And when you do that, they slap. They do a ton of damage. I believe that it makes them shoot every 0.3 seconds for 6 seconds, and they will shoot 3 targets each. So if you look at just one of these, let me just show you what it looks like. I'm going to summon exactly 4 things so you can see the target count and how often they're hitting and stuff like that. So you can see it's hitting everything, and then I enhance it, and you'll see it shoot out these ink blobs, and you can see it's not shooting this one here, for instance. So it's shooting 3 of these, and it shoots them with a very big burst. You're seeing it was hitting for like 2.1 million. So obviously I don't have my crit rate up because I don't have enough of these things out, so you're not seeing all the crits and stuff, but it hits for a lot of damage when you do. So whenever you get enough of this, you pretty much just want to use this on cooldown, and it will increase the duration of your ravens that you have out, and then just make them do more damage. And they'll also then be doing like more single target damage as well, because if, let's say you have out like 8 ravens in one spot, and you press that button, well, all 8 of them are suddenly going to be pulsing for 4,000 skill power damage on a 0.3 second interval. So I can show you roughly what it looks like. I'm not going to summon more than this because I don't really need to. You can see we've got a ton of these out. And you can just kind of keep going. You can get more and more and more and more and more of them. And it's really dumb. And you can see that they're still out there. These had a 13-second duration. Right? So that's how we know that this is actually increasing the duration. So that's why I'm showing this. These are all out there, and they're all enhanced. I don't think it increases how long they're enhanced. So it does not do that, but it does continue to increase their duration by 6 seconds. So you can see that these are lasting way longer than the 13 seconds that they're supposed to last, right? They do shoot enhanced shots regularly, even when you don't use this 4th skill. This one just makes them shoot faster for 6 seconds, but they do regularly pulse at 3-second intervals. And you can see they're still out there. So they're finally starting to disappear. But you can see that the range that she can cover with these, even just a couple of crows, is completely stupid. And they do a lot of damage, as you've seen. And then, yeah, you dash in, you get some extra duration, you need some resource, you shotgun something, and that's how you play her. So mainly just focus on keeping your Raven's Claws out, and then enhancing them with your 4th skill, and whenever you need resource to be able to use your 2 resource abilities, hit them with a shotgun. And just keep pumping out Ravens, and they're going to do a ton of damage to everything. It's a ridiculous amount of damage. She also just is very fast as a result. She gets 40% movement speed from her Nightfall passive, so, and she gets HP when killing enemies. So it's everything. And she's immune to damage, and she can blanket the whole field, and she does a ton of burst. I don't know. This character is insane. It's very concerning, to be honest with you, but I'll reserve judgment beyond that. So since I've discussed how to play her, I've also talked about other things that you can run in here. Mainly it's just going to be this or Infected Weapon, as far as I'm aware. You can also run Two-Face if you want to. It's not the burst mod out there. It's actually pretty good if you have if your Ancestor mod has freed up slots to actually run the other part of it. You can rely on it for range. There's a mod in here that allows you to get some movement speed, some range, and some skill power. So this is actually a pretty good one, assuming that you have something on your Ancestor mod that lets you do that. So she is singular for all of her skills. So you want to be running with non-attribute and singular. So you can see that this is my Ancestor mod. I've gone for critical hit damage and singular bonus and non-attribute. So those are probably going to be mainly the things that you're looking for in general, or those 3 stats. But if you wind up with things like critical hit rate, range, or duration, I think that those are all going to be pretty good. Even skill cost isn't that bad. Because it will allow you to use more of your 4th skill, but your 4th skill does have like a 6-second cooldown, and I'm running Slayer set, so it increases the cost of this, and I've not really found an issue with the cost yet. So, but if you get it, at least it's not a dead stat. But if you do get, like I said, range, crit rate, duration, things like that, then you can change up the rest of this build, as is the case with most non-attribute descendants. So you can run non-attribute in here. I believe that if you have non-attribute on this thing, on your Ancestor mod, you probably want to stick with running power increase, but you can run non-attribute increase if you want to. I need to compare the damage on this versus like non-attribute specialist and non-attribute focus on non-attribute, but it's going to come down to what it is for your Ancestor mod. I can't give you the right or wrong for that. It's just going to be up to each person. But just know that if you have a lot of non-attribute on your Ancestor mod, then you want to be running power increase usually. I believe that you usually want like 100% base-ish to do that, so I might actually get a little bit more out of just running the non-attribute one. I'll just have to check it after this. And then you can see that there's actually a new stat called non-attribute skill power amplify ratio. So that is actually coming from, well, let me see, am I done with these? I'll talk about that in a second. Let me finish on this. I am taking, so these, her crows, when they're enhanced, go up to 150%. Actually, the crows in general go up to 150%. Sorry, it's not just when they're enhanced. Extra range. So it says 250%. So if you're a new player, that means that this over here needs to say 150% because everybody starts off with 100%. So 100% plus 150 would be 250. And I've opted to just get some skill extension because it allows this buff to last a little bit longer. And then if I'm chaining this buff, it's lasting like 20-something seconds, and it just allows these to last longer, and I can blanket more of the arena with them. And realistically, the more of these that I have out, the more damage I'm going to do. I don't think that I need really more than that. I do have skill insight, although she gets a lot of crit. I believe that you still do need to have skill insight to reach the maximum critical hit rate. I'm going to check really quick. That should be 5 of them. So you can see I'm at 87. I'm actually slightly under it. So I think that that's probably enough, but this is going to be probably better. So it might be smart. I'll have to check the damage. It might be smart to run like front lines or something like that in place of non-attribute integration, but I'll have to check. Like I said, this guide's not going to be perfect yet. Usually when I put these out there, I've dived into like all of the math, but I haven't had time to do that, and I wanted to get this out pretty quick because I think that she's a pretty complicated character to some degree here on how you would play her, and I've definitely had a lot of them in my groups while I was like spamming Onslaught to accelerate my research time to get her. I did not buy her. I got her through you know, farming all the mats and doing the research. I had a lot of them just dying or doing nothing in my group, and then I actually got the character and I assumed she was underpowered, and then I tried her and I was like, holy crap, she's really broken. So people must be doing something wrong, so she must be confusing some people out there. But yeah, we have done skill extension or skill expansion, sorry, plus bio expansion here, just to hit that 150 cap on the ravens. I almost said crows again. And then yeah, just to have more crows. God damn it, more ravens. Other than that, everything I think looks basic. You're taking your cooldown, power increase I've already explained. Singular boost is going to be better than non-attribute, but it just depends how much of each you have. Like if you have like a 60% non-attribute and like a 30% singular, then the non-attribute is probably going to be better, but just you know, rotate through your mods, see which one's hitting the hardest. If you really want to, if you want an easy way to test out which one is better, like on your own, probably the easiest way without delving into math is if you have somebody that can like round up enemies, then just spawn like 50 of these. And then take Dia, I assume. If you're a new player, sorry. You can use Lepic too. Lepic can tow things in. He's pretty new player friendly. Usually what I'll do is I'll just throw about 50 of these and I'll pixel stack them. There is a math formula you can use, but yet again, if you're not good at math, this is probably going to be easier for you. Just group up like, you know, 50 of these and then just start attacking them. And it's less important for non-crit characters, but for crit characters, you're going to want to look at the average that you're doing. So that's why I suggest just stacking up 50 of them, you know, and then you can do a hit here and say, okay, it's hitting for like 410, something like that. They've got Arcade Chain Catalyst on them, so be careful with that. Okay, 418. So assuming about like 410, you know, 418 damage. That one was pretty high, 450. I guess I got lucky. But that's why you're looking for things like crit rate. So I realistically should have these out here. But regardless, I think that this is a good way to test your ancestor modules. If you don't want to get too technical with it, just stack up 50 things, hit them with a few skills, see roughly which one's doing better, and just be mindful of what buffs and debuffs are going out. So I did want to talk about the weapon really quick. This is one of the new Transcendent weapons. We get the main reason that we're using this. So at first I thought you had to use a shotgun on her. You only have to do that for her other, if you're just using her base skill, whatever you call it. If you're not using a Transcendent module. Or if you're using this, then you can use any weapon. But for this specific thing, we can't use Peacemaker. Peacemaker is only for fusion and dimension skills, so we can't use that. So your only option, as far as I'm aware, is this one. And this does increase it's actually just an insane weapon in general. I assume all of them work like this, but this is the only one that I found, and I guess I was pretty lucky to find this one first. So this one gives you non-attribute skill power amplification rate, and this is different than non-attribute skill power. This is actually, I believe, another bucket, and it is very insanely strong. And I will show you what that means. So normally, I've got 85%, we'll say, non-attribute skill power. So if I hit for 100 damage, we'll ignore everything else here. If I hit for 100 damage and I do if I have 85% non-attribute, I'm going to hit for 185 damage. So if I get another 85, then I would hit for whatever that is, 270. So that is like a 50% increase, although I've doubled my non-attribute, right? And this is like very, very basic napkin math. So even though you've gotten twice as much of your non-attribute stat, it's not actually increasing your damage by twice as much. It's only 50%. That's a diminishing return. And so the reason that this gun is good, and it has that special line on it. I haven't been able to build this one to make it even better yet, but so I'm going to hit him with a shotgun real quick. You can see we're hitting for 4.2. And then if I use this, we're now hitting for 5.8. Well, that is way more than 38% non-attribute increase, right? I just said if I've got 85, I'd only get a 50% damage increase from adding another 85. So this is actually a separate multiplier on top of that. We went from 42 to 58. Or sorry, 4.2 million to 5.8 million. So it added like an additional 38% damage. So this is actually its own bucket that is multiplying everything else. And if you read the tooltip, I believe that is also what it's suggesting. And this is my understanding of how this works based off my own testing, as you saw. Obviously, that wasn't insane testing or anything, but I don't really know what else I could do to try that more. But basically, it just says, indicates the non-attribute skill power amplify ratio. Along with skill power, it affects the final skill attack, but it is not in this bucket. And as we just saw with the damage, I'm fairly certain it's its own bucket, which basically means that this weapon is ridiculously insane for making non-attribute characters hit harder. It is just a final multiplier on top of everything else, and it's going to just insanely increase all the skill descendants damage. So I have built these other Transcendent weapons. I've got like 4 of them built now. I haven't been impressed with them yet. I know the devs said that they thought that maybe the meta would shift towards gun descendants. I don't think that's going to happen, actually. I think the ultimate weapons are actually stronger than the Transcendent weapons at the moment, but the skill descendants are eating good. I do not know what is on the other ones of these because I haven't found them yet. I've only found this one. But if they're like this, then skill descendants are going to be insanely broken, and they were already insanely broken, so I don't know how the devs are going to handle that, but it is what it is. So I believe that's everything that I can really talk about here. Let me look up my list real quick. Sorry for the pause. I've talked about the Ancestor mod, alternate trigger mods, alternate mods to place in here. I don't really think that there's many that I would do. You could sacrifice bio expansion for the Power Beyond one if you want to do that. So that's going to give you even more damage. But I think I'd rather just have the 50% HP myself, but that is an option if you want to do it. I don't think I'd worry about getting modifier. Her modifiers are already very high, so it's not going to do a lot for you. We've talked about the weapon. You'll see that I have skill cooldown singular here. That is simply because I haven't gotten a skill cooldown critical hit one. But if you get skill cooldown critical hit damage, that is probably going to be what you would want to use. Just because you're probably going to want to use power increase over here, and so then you would just take cooldown here to reach the cooldown cap of 75. So I believe you have to have the cooldown on the reactor. Let me just double check before I get people bet. Yeah, you do. So I would probably go with I just don't have this other one yet, like I said, so it's not really anything I can do about that, unfortunately. But, so skill cooldown singular is fine for now. Otherwise, get skill cooldown critical hit damage if you have it. And then for alternate sets in here, I think that if you wanted to, I believe you can also run Enlightened Mage in here, and I think that's going to be pretty good. I wish that it would switch things when I click on them. So I think if you want to run Enlightened Mage, I think that's fine. I think Slayer actually gives like slightly more HP, so that's why I have that on. and I don't know. That's just what I went with. She is spammy enough on her skills that you probably can get away with using this, and it might do more damage for you. I'm not really sure. Yet again, like I said, I haven't gotten the chance to crunch all the numbers yet to see which one's the best, and it's also just going to depend on your ancestor mod. Like this, I might already have too much non-attribute that this might not be good enough. I'm not sure. I'm not quite positive that she's as spammy as I would like to be with her skills to run Enlightened Mage. She has kind of a long cooldown on several of these, 4.5 seconds, 5.5 seconds. So that's just sort of why I'm going with Slayer right now. But I think that's an option. I think if you wanted a ton of bulk too, because she's singular, you could run 2-piece Plague, 2-piece Enlightened Mage, and that's going to be pretty solid as well. And it's probably going to give you way more HP. Like that would probably put you up at like 14,000, 15,000 if I had to guess. So those are all options, I think. I'm not quite sure which one's doing the most damage yet, but you kind of can't go wrong with Slayer sometimes, and she's not a mana-based character, so we don't have to worry about the cost too much. Alternate arcade tuning. Do I need to go over that? Oh yeah, let me put that back on before I forget. You're probably not gonna... The other option would be to go over to here. You're probably not gonna do that because she's a crit character, so we can make use out of these crit nodes. If you're a non-crit character, sometimes it could be good to go down here. Just because it's hard to get more damage on the tree. For this, these nodes have changed. Actually, a lot of these have changed. I've just gone with HP Restore. And I'm no longer running an HP mod is why I switched this off, but if you do decide that you want to run an HP mod, just run this. This is going to be the best one that you can get. I just took this down for the 9% duration, but realistically, I could also just take incoming damage modifier reduction, but she doesn't take damage anyway, so, you know, it's kind of up to you. The rest of these are kind of lackluster. I wasn't too much of a fan of the rest of these. I think that I'm probably just going to stick with HP on most things. They cooked here. I'm not sure that I like the cook. I like this row, but yeah, just pick whichever of these you like. It's not going to matter. You can take some extra HP. You can take some cooldown. I guess there is the option to take 6% additional cooldown now, so that is actually technically, did not realize that. So you can actually do this then if you want to. I think. This is technically slightly more. I think this is like 2 or 3% damage to take this. So it's up to you. If you just do what I did there, but oh yeah, I gotta get rid of that. So that's an option. I haven't crunched the numbers, like I said. I'm just gonna stick with this for now. I don't mind the duration, but yeah, you could do this or you could do this. If you take this one, then you should be able to. Like I said, just take this, and I think it's like 3%. I do have reduced range on my Ancestor mod, so it's a little bit awkward, but whatever. I think that's everything. I think I've covered how to play her, what you're looking for in your Ancestor mod, some options, what you want to do for everything here. So I guess I'll probably ship this out for people. Sorry for yapping. Hopefully you can just put this on your other monitor while you're farming for Raven or building your Raven. And then hopefully you'll at least know how to play Nightfall by the end. I'm going to put up Solo Onslaught 4 gameplay. I wasn't even fully built, but it was a breeze. I cleared it in like 7 minutes or something. I think I was missing a module. I'm not sure I had this one yet or something, but I know that I didn't have my arcade tuning. So I'll put up that Onslaught stuff, and then everybody enjoy. This character, at least her skill build, is really, really broken. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Anyways, have a nice day.
Descendant, the energy concentration point is unstable. Protect the objective from all threats. You can configure arcade parameters based on analysis of combat data. Initiating energy concentration point stabilization operation. Prevent enemy infiltration at all costs. Descendant, you need to interact with the target device. Approach and engage with it within the time limit. specialized anti-personnel combat entity detected. It has you in its sights, Descendant. Be careful. Key target located. Neutralize it within the time limit quietly to avoid alerting the enemy. Zone stabilization confirmed. Descendant! Unstable energy source detected. Transmitting target coordinates to your Asive. Descendant, the enemy offensive is weakening. Time to utilize your tactical options. Enemy reinforcements detected, Descendant. Hold the line. Destruction target confirmed ahead. Descendant, destroy the structure completely within the time limit. Reinforcements detected, Descendant. Hold the line. Key target located. Neutralize it within the time limit quietly to avoid alerting the enemy. Zone stabilization confirmed. Descendant! Unstable energy source detected. Transmitting target coordinates to your Asive. Descendant, the enemy offensive is weakening. Time to utilize your tactical options. Enemy reinforcements detected, Descendant. Hold the line. Key target located. Neutralize it within the time limit quiet. Emergency suppression device deployment complete. Descendant, please make use of this. Descendant, you need to interact with the target device. Approach and engage with it within the time limit.